But I followed her campaign a little bit from afar. I don't live in Hamilton County, but from what my understanding is, she did it the old-fashioned way. She knocked on doors, she attended community meetings, she felt kind of like the pulse of her neighborhood and felt that people were being underrepresented, or weren't being well represented by the incumbent she was running against. And she won. And she was the first Democrat to be elected in Hamilton County in ages, maybe ever. But 99% of the time, the election in Hamilton County is the Republican primary. 2019 in Indiana is only municipal elections. So if you live in a city or town, you'll be electing people like your mayor, your city council, stuff like that. If you just live in an unincorporated area and aren't formally in a city or town, you won't have anything on your ballot unless, say, unless there's a public question. Public questions is the term around here for like referendums. If a school district wants to raise property taxes a little bit for infrastructure or whatever, that's how they do it. A couple other ways you can do it. It's not an easy process. So here we're in Carmel. The incumbent is that guy, Jim Brainerd. He's the mayor of Carmel. He's been the mayor for over 20 years. And he has overseen kind of this change in Carmel. When I was a kid, I was born in 1986. When I was a kid, there was no talk of like, hey, let's go to Carmel and have a day of going to parks and stuff like that, because Carmel didn't have any parks. Actually, their first park was opened shortly after I was born, and it was in the primary pitch, and it still is a golfing, practice, has a golfing practice area. That's how they kind of sold it. But Carmel now nearly has 100,000 people, has annexed a good amount of land, has a built-up downtown area and a couple other areas. Now, depending on who you talk to, some may say that that's very artificial. We're actually gonna go the proper way. I love roundabouts. I love going through them as a cyclist because they're so fun. Ow, that was not fun. Ow, that was less fun too. All right, let's not do that again. Anyways, every 4 years, Jim Brainerd gets challenged in the GOP primary, usually on the, there's too much debt, not enough transparency, yada, yada, yada. Hasn't worked yet. And 4 years ago, Brainerd kind of hit the jackpot in that even the Republican opposition on the Carmel Council, the people he backed, won their primaries, and the people who were casting anti-Brainerd votes lost. So he's on a hot streak right now. He's also the highest paid mayor in Indiana. He recently got something like a 22% pay raise. He gets paid just under $180,000 a year. For context, Mayor Hogsett of Indianapolis, his salary is set at I think something like $90,000. Governor Eric Holcomb, a Republican as well, just like Brainerd, gets paid something like $99,000. I think the closest mayor after Brainerd is the mayor of Gary, Indiana, who's paid something like $150,000. But it's kind of weird, you know, Carmel has 1/9 of Indianapolis' population, yet their mayor is paid a lot more. It's amazing what you can do to a community when you're almost exclusively white and affluent. There are some parts of Carmel that are more working class, but they are fading. In fact, that's kind of why I like this area of 106, because north of 106, these are all mostly newer homes over here. It's like that's a brand new home. Generally, not always, but north of 106 along this route. These aren't McMansions per se, but there's more brick and whatnot. There's less vinyl usage. Whereas south, on my left, there's a lot more vinyl usage. Build quality is kind of similar to what you would see in many Indianapolis post-war neighborhoods. And there actually are parts of Carmel that look just like a post-war neighborhood. Home place, lots of one-story ranch homes, lots of vinyl. We're just kind of go ahead. And I should have gone that way. Oh well. This part right here, I don't like this part. It's a crappy sidewalk rather than a paved trail. All the grime and dirt and nonsense right here gets picked up. See? It's quite getting quite hot. So yeah, primary just under a month. Mayor Brainerd recently had an email leak out that showed that he was pursuing a relationship with the city clerk treasurer. He proposed a getaway to Rome. He was going to use his Amex points, American Express points, and he assured her that there would be no Carmel people on the flight from Chicago. And then he would be going after he was at the time part of President Obama's climate change task force. He was speaking at some big event, attending workshops. Then he was going to a similar event after that in Germany, and he proposed that she leave after Italy, and he would come back on his own. I guess we're just gonna do this. Thank you, AT&T. That was ridiculous. It's like there's these huge driveways right here. All of these homes, they don't have to block the trail, but they did. It is, I don't know what even time it is, because my camera time is not correct. So yeah, look, here's a bunch of signs. And the weird thing is about Carmel and Hamilton County is, even if you actually look at, say for example, the gubernatorial returns, our governor elections or US Senate elections or some other statewide election, Carmel and Hamilton County do not vote strictly down the ballot as Republicans. But when it comes to township level, city and town levels, and county level seats, they're essentially decided in the Republican primary. So even for Democrats who live here, and there are younger people moving here, and there is a rise in like, there's a slight demographic change. There's more than one language spoken in Carmel Public Schools, for example. But so a lot of Democrats or Democratic-leaning voters, when you go to the polls in Indiana, when you vote in a primary in May, you go to your polling place, and then the poll workers will ask you, will you want a Democrat ballot or a Republican ballot? In the odd case that that's a public question, there will be a separate ballot for that, and you can go to the polling place and just vote on that. And in general, the public question will just be on the same ballot as everything else. And that counts as your party registration, essentially. When you register to vote in Indiana, you are not asked, are you Republican, Libertarian, Democrat, whatever. Some states there are, like in New York, you register under party affiliation, and there's a crap ton of parties to choose from. Not here. But when you take your ballot at the primary, if you vote in the primary, that counts as your party registration. And for the average citizen, you can switch between whatever if you want. But if you're ever interested in running for office, say you've taken a Democratic ballot and you live in Carmel and you want to run for city council as a Republican, well, the Republican county chair can then challenge your candidacy, and they can either have you removed from the ballot or they'll have to authorize your campaign. So there's a couple other consequences of that. You can also be challenged at the polling place. Are you really a Republican? Because the catch is you're supposed to vote 50% of that party. But of course, your general election ballots are, anonymous. So yeah, it's kind of a screwed up system, but I don't know. It kind of works, I guess. Okay. Thank you. Right here. Oh, so we're on the Monon Trail right now. Here is the, this is Center Park. I know, we are really Central Park. There's a lot of New York City envy right here. They even have a, I think they have a district called Soho. But, so that's kind of the community center of sorts. There's a pool, there's actually a couple pools. Skate park. You have to pay to get in there. Anything that's fenced in, you have to pay for. You have to be a member. County residents get a better rate than non-county residents. But the Monon is free. The surrounding trails here are free to use. We are gonna turn a right here because we wanna Go a little bit further. In fact, this is a good part to end part 2 of this video adventure. So we'll end it right here in Central Park in Carmel, Indiana. Beautiful day outside, birds chirping. I've got the shorts on and the fingerless gloves. Nothing keeping me warm because it's not needed. It's beautiful. This is like great temperature. I wish it would just stay like this forever, but it won't. It'll get hot and muggy soon enough. Anyways, we're gonna pick this up in just a minute. I'll see you in part 3.